Ego the Living Planet has been shown to counteract/heal those infected by Null, done when he was a baby planet or just like a very young planet. As a young planet, he fought Null alongside Silver Surfer, even giving Surfer some extra power for the fight and the win after to bring the universe back to life. Now that Ego is a much older planet and has grown in power, it's not hard to believe that he could hold his own in a fight against Null. Ego currently seems to outrank Null in energy projection, but not in fighting skills. Ego has proven his battle abilities in fights against Galactus. In one instant, Ego had gone insane, and Galactus didn't even engage before he had help. Null was defeated by being thrown into the sun, as light is his weakness. Ego was also thrown into a sun, but instead of being his end, it actually just made him more powerful since it activated his photosynthetic form of revitalization. Chthon, who knows? Everyone says it different, is an elder god of Earth and the planet's first black magic master. He outranks Null in energy projection too, but not in fighting skills and intelligence. There is an argument that Null would win a fight between the two because some Sims of his have defeated Chthon in the past. However, I think there's more to that story. So Chthon was summoned by Carnage but couldn't be controlled. He was only defeated when Jubilile Van Scotter showed up with the Toxic Sim and her own Darkhold Augmented Sim, and Ray is also Darkhold Augmented. The Darkhold was written by Chthon, so technically he was defeated by Null's creations, but only when two of them were supercharged with magic he created. Whatever that means. Even if he didn't win, he would certainly make the fight interesting. Dormammu is a puzzling case for this. He's held up against Odin and those in comparable power to Galactus. He was once able to take the powers of the entity Eternity and create his own reality. Dormammu's power come from where he lives and rules the dark dimension. When he is in there, it's been established that there is pretty much no fight he can't win. He could utilize his magical abilities to overpower Null. Dormammu also has all the demons of his realm at his disposal, making a terrifying army. He can also create evil beings like Satanish, for example. The thing is, that all sounds a lot like Null, and if his Sims were able to take control of Dormammu's army, Null suddenly is in a much better place. Dormammu's drawback is that he draws his power from his dimensions. When he leaves it, he gets weaker. In the event that Null and Dormammu were to face off somewhere that wasn't the dark dimension, Null does have a significantly better chance at winning, but probably only if he had like his sword and his army. Dormammu has never been killed. If you kill him, you essentially kill his dimension, which is pretty much near impossible to do, and maybe Null is the guy to finally do it. Galactus, deemed a cosmic powerhouse by Thanos and almost everyone he encounters, he could definitely hold his own against Null. Known as the Devourer of Worlds, Galactus is a cosmic being, meaning he has the power cosmic, which is just unlimited cosmic energy. Battles between Galactus and other equal powers have literally shifted reality. His main weakness is his power has to be nourished. The nourishment in question, planets, whole planets. If he doesn't eat planets, he will starve and die. He has beat mad Celestials. Null has slain a Celestial, so they're on equal footing there. Galactus is destined to be around forever and can move faster than the speed of light, despite the fact that he is like 18 tons and just under 29 feet tall. He has the power to throw devastating energy blasts, teleport, resurrect the dead, manipulate souls, mess with time. Galactus might stumble in battle since he is not immune to Null's Sims and Sword all black, as seen in alternate future Earth 14,412, but then Null was also partially defeated when Silver Surfer's surfboard, created by Galactus, was combined with Thor's hammer. Logos is three things, and they are all cosmic entities: Master Order, Lord Chaos, and the In-Betweener, who was made by Order and Chaos as their agent of universal balance. They fused together after the Beyonders destroyed the 7th form universe, creating the 8th form. The order of the universe was still being established, so where the Living Tribunal was the top of the food chain last time, that could be changed with the Reformation. Order and Chaos eliminated the tribunals so they could be the top of multiversal law. They combined together right after that so they could really be at the top, making them Logos. Like Null, they can also kill Celestials, and they did. It's assumed that Logos has unlimited power. Master Order and Lord Chaos were regarded by a gauntlet-wielding Thanos to be more powerful than Galactus. Eventually, Logos was split back into 3 pieces. They were too powerful otherwise altogether. All 3 pieces of the entity entity outrank Null, so that definitely works in their favor when it comes to a battle with them. Null is claimed to be the incarnation of the Void of Darkness, but he might just be wrong because it actually sounds like that existed long before he did. Oblivion is actually the embodiment of darkness, including the void that Null was floating in and likely what Null used to create his sword and army. This makes me wonder that if, for whatever reason, Oblivion went toe-to-toe with Null, what side would the Sims be on? Sure, there's like the hive mind stuff, but if the thing that they were literally created from joined the battlefield, would they just factory reset? Food for thought. Speaking of food, hunger, yet another entity out of time. This one, like its name suggests, eats any and all forms of matter and energy. Feeding on literally entire realities, there is little, if nothing, that can hurt this thing. As long as it understands what it is eating, its composition, then that meal can't hurt it. Hunger doesn't really have a weakness, he just can't enter a reality without a door into it. If someone were to tear the fabric of your reality, Hunger could get in and then will never leave. So as long as that happens, you're good. So to defeat Null, it seems like all one would need to do is tear into the fabric of his reality, and there we go. The only being that has ever defeated this Hunger was a Thanos that had absorbed the cosmic beings in his reality, and that was Thanos from reality 81,488. And speaking of, if the omnipotent Thanos 81,488 can absorb the living tribunal and above all others and burn Hunger up in his hand, I truly do not believe Null would cause him to break a sweat. This Thanos absorbed a bunch of other powers to get him to the point of being the embodiment of his universe, including Galactus, Death, Eternity, and Infinity, and more. This Thanos doesn't need any Infinity Stones, he can just do everything, including that of which few characters can, break the fourth wall and talk right to the readers. Somehow, there might be someone even more powerful than everyone else, the Beyonder/Beyonders. Existing outside the multiverse, they claim they were the creations of the Celestials. Really, they were created by the Lost One, who was created by the Celestials, but the Beyonders stole all his power, so there you go. Anyway, some things the Beyonders can do. A Beyonder kid created Secret Wars, that weird like gladiator match from the 80s. The Beyonders launched a coordinated attack where they all attacked the Celestials at the same time and killed all but one. The reason the Beyonders were acting up was because they wanted to destroy the multiverse to get rid of someone else and then hoped when it restarted that the guy would just be gone. So if you tried to stop them blowing up the multiverse, they had no choice but to go after you too. When the first Beyonder was introduced, he was the most powerful thing ever, able to take out entities like Lord Chaos, Master Order, Eternity, the In-Betweener, Infinity, and Living Tribunal. No matter what, Beyonders can still manipulate reality. They have the power to build entire universes at their fingertips. They can shift realities, just not time travel in the traditional sense, I guess. And finally, the one below all is likely way more powerful than Null or anyone else on this list. The one below is the other half of the one above all, the most powerful being ever. Above all creates, below all destroys, and together they are the beginning and ending of everything. Below all is a destroyer so that one day above all can recreate everything. Below all doesn't really have a brain. As the embodiment of the concept of all things destruction and darkness, it operates purely on impulse, at least that's what Bruce Banner has theorized. Below all is also easily able to warp reality. Banner has a special connection to Below all since it's the source of the gamma radiation that created the Hulk. Bruce Banner had another theory that Null was actually connected to the one below all somehow, that he were under his control or an aspect of the mindless beast. The one below all can't create, but his domain, the below place, which he controls, has spawned many an evil entity. Anti-All is one evil being that spawned from this place, and their defeat resulted in these like crystals of him scattering across the universe that then became a bunch of evil avatars of the Void. One of these essence crystal things did in fact become Null. Now we can only assume that since Null was theoretically born of Anti-All or darkness that was born of the below place, that the one below all could either control or wipe the floor with Null. That was a lot of mental gymnastics, but what do you think? There are some seriously powerful villains out in the Marvel and DC universe that are hiding away just waiting to strike again. 10. Grail. She has made her triumphant and destructive return recently, but is still not super popular, despite being the daughter of Darkseid. She was prophesied to basically end the world. She's named the goddess of anti-life, and she nearly destroyed the Justice League, psychologically and physically. She has no limits. She stole a super baby to turn back into Darkseid after her father had passed away. She will do anything for evil. I think she's underground right now, so we should probably keep an eye out just in case she comes back. 9. Graviton. Graviton gained the ability to mentally control gravity after a failed teleportation experiment. The Avengers fought him in Avengers 158 and thought thought that the battle would be easy because the guy was originally just a human, they thought wrong because they lost. The only reason Graviton stopped being a problem was because he accidentally made a building collapse on top of himself. After he eventually broke free, he experienced temporary amnesia, and so did the Marvel fandom apparently because no one seems to remember him. 8. Overshadow. He might be Marvel's most powerful villain yet, and barely anyone knows who he is. Philip Nolan Voight got his powers from the White event. So he was climbing a mountain when it happened and was just the closest to space, so he got the most powers. He can replicate the powers of any paranormal that he encounters, keep those powers after replication, and magnify them. The one power that he could not replicate were that of the Star Brand, which ended up being his undoing. Overshadow is likely forgotten because the comics that he was in, DP7, weren't as popular as other Marvel titles. 7. Collective Man. 5 brothers that can merge into one person and have a connection to everyone in China. The concept is wild from start to finish. Not only do the brothers merge together, but they can draw power from any Chinese person they want, or turn them into a clone of one of the brothers. It's a hive mind situation, but overall, this is one villain that you can't think too hard about because the questions you'll come up with are probably impossible to answer. What matters is this villain has the potential to become extremely powerful in battle when they want. 6. Headhunter. From con woman to the head of Wall Street, Headhunter used her powers of persuasion to become the most powerful woman on Wall Street. Well, persuasion and also seemingly lethal methods, considering she has a bunch of heads on the wall. The villain alias is literal. She displays her competition on her wall. The good news is the faces aren't actually detached from the body. The people are simply in a catatonic state and put there, eventually saved by, I think, Namor. She's also kind of like Edward Scissorhands, but instead of the full hand, it's just her manicure. 5. Drang the Destroyer, the evilest guy out there, so evil that he refused to join the circle of evil because they aren't evil enough. The Purple Planet Overlord feeds on the bad energy created by evil deeds. His plan, Operation Satan, intended to reenact the worst crimes in history. Supergirl was sent to capture and destroy the villain, but Drang stole her powers. Supergirl was only able to defeat him when she brought all the worst criminals to that planet, and their combined evil energy caused Drang to explode. 4. Darok, a Thor villain that fought not just Thor, but also the Silver Surfer at the same time and was deemed unbeatable. The Norse god and power cosmic enhanced Galactus Herald couldn't defeat him working together. He snapped the Surfer's board in half. The solution was the Silver Surfer launching the villain to right before the big crunch in the future. The collapse of the universe is what they had to use to stop him. The villain was commissioned by Loki specifically to fight Thor, which is why it was able to match his strength so well. 3. Phaeton, son of the sun god. Phaeton nearly lit the earth on fire, was banished to a sunless planet, and then stole the sun as revenge. I guess go big or go home. Wonder Woman preserved the earth by finding a star that could hold us in place for long enough and then literally barreling through it to let the heat of the core warm our planet until she could get the actual sun back. 2. Hyena. Some evil genius thought, what if we took the toughest Wolverine villain, Sabretooth, and then combined him with the most insane Batman villain, the Joker? I mean, what if? Well, Hyena has all the powers of those two villains and absolutely no limits. This took place in Legends of the Dark Claw, and thankfully, to handle this Frankenstein mess, Wolverine and Batman were also created as a mix. 1. Dr. Doomsday. I mean, what could be worse than a Joker Sabretooth mashup, bringing together the worst of Marvel and DC in Dr. Doomsday? Dr. Doom and Doomsday in one evil entity. The powers and genius that are mashed up into one champion of destruction. It is a miracle that anyone ever survived.
Number 10. Lady Deathstrike. I said I was limiting myself to villains who first appeared in Alpha Flight, and this one just barely counts. Yuriko Oyama first appeared as a sympathetic character in Daredevil number 197, where her father was fixing Bullseye's paralysis with adamantium. After her father's death, she decided to continue his work and began tracking down Wolverine in order to remove his adamantium skeleton. She made her first appearance as a villain, going by the name Lady Deathstrike, in Alpha Flight number 33, where she was using a specialized katana to destroy Wolverine. She was the first supervillain who Heather Hudson's Vindicator ever defeated in battle. Deathstrike would go on to be a constant foil to Wolverine and grew more and more powerful, receiving razor fingernails, super strength, speed, and agility, as well as a powerful cybernetic healing factor. But In this first appearance, she is at the beginning of her journey, and has no powers, and therefore ranks at the bottom of this list. Number 9. Bedlam. Bedlam was an inmate of a Nova Scotian prison who had latent superpowers. When Alpha's leader, James Hudson, was trying to find superpowered beings for the first iteration of the team, he offered Bedlam a way to unlock his powers and redeem himself in order to serve his country. Bedlam got the powers but lied about being reformed and went on a rampage. He was able to use his telepathic powers to pit Alpha against a team called the Derangers, wanting to use whichever team won as his servants and army once he took over the world. In addition to his telepathy, he was also capable in telekinesis and had powerful psionic powers. He could wipe people's minds, leaving them brain dead, which he tried to do to Vindicator, forcing her to kill him in Alpha Flight number 53. Number 8. Delphine Courtney. When James Hudson found out the geo-exploration suit he was developing for Amcam Oil was going to be sold as a weapon to the Americans, he destroyed the plans for the suit and took the helmet, using it to craft his Guardian suit and become a superhero. His boss, Jerome Jackson, was blamed for this failure, and he began a downward spiral that ended with him broke and paralyzed. He went to the evil Roxxon Corporation, and they gave him the means to get his revenge and destroy Alpha Flight. They also gave him a secretary named Delphine Courtney. She was really a robot named MX39147 with heightened strength and durability, as well as superior senses and extremely high intelligence, and an open-ended deductive capability similar to really good intuition. Most importantly, she has the ability to subtly manipulate the feelings of others, which she used to stoke the resentments of former members of the Alpha Flight training program Gamma Flight in order to recruit them to the villain team Omega Flight. After Jackson and Hudson died, she reformed Omega Flight and disguised herself as a resurrected Hudson, but was destroyed by Madison Jeffries, who could control machines with his mind. Number 7. Tanarak. The alpha known as Snowbird is an Inuit demigoddess who can transform into any animal found in the north and has been sent to Earth to protect it from the mythical great beasts who are returning to Earth after thousands of years. There are 7 beasts in total who gave Snowbird and Alpha varying degrees of trouble, but one of the most difficult to deal with was Tanarak. When Walter Lankowski performed a gamma experiment on himself, hoping to replicate the powers of the Hulk, he did so at a base in the Arctic to avoid anyone getting hurt. When he performed the experiment, the thinner walls of reality in the Arctic caused the spirit of Tanarak to enter him, transforming him into Sasquatch, the strongest member of Alpha Flight. Tanarak eventually managed to take control of Walter and use him to attack his friends, and Snowbird was forced to kill him in order to destroy the beast. They eventually got Walter's soul back by retrieving it from the realm of the beasts. Number 6. Scramble/Omega. On the subject of Madison Jeffries, he and his brother Lionel believed in the American cause in Vietnam, and like several Canadians of the time did, actually joined the American military to fight in Vietnam. He was a mutant with the power to manipulate flesh, bone, and other organic components, and served as a medic, but the war drove him insane and he was put in a mental institution. He escaped and became a villain called Scramble, who used his power to turn people into monstrous deformed creatures. His brother made him use his powers to fix his own brain, and he reversed the damage and became Alpha's medic. It later turned out that he was actually still insane, and he used his powers to merge with Alpha Team member Roger Box, becoming Omega, now being able to also alter his own physical form. When Box tried to resist, Jeffries lobotomized him. The Purple Girl, who was an Alphan at the time, got him to stop his rampage, and his brother Madison was forced to kill him. Number 5. Tundra. Another of the great beasts who Alpha defeated all the way back in Alpha Flight number 1 was Tundra the Land Beast. He was summoned to Earth by Snowbird's insane father and began absorbing the land of Canada, becoming a giant monster who got bigger and stronger with every step he took, and could hurl the rocks that made him up with great force at the Alphans. He could also control the creatures of the north, sending massive clouds of mosquitoes after the heroes. As if that wasn't bad enough, hitting him with tech hurt him, but as he was one with the land, it risked shattering all of Canada in an earthquake. The heroes were able to defeat him by controlling the rain and making it come down in a torrent which mimicked the effects of erosion and broke Tundra up, sending him back to the realm of the great beasts. Number 4. The new Weapon X. While compiling this list, I wanted to include villains from all the different eras of Alpha Flight, but honestly, most of the villains featured in volumes 2 and 3 of the series just aren't impressive enough to rank on the list, with the exception of the new Weapon X. When a tourist from New Zealand was touring the facilities of the Canadian government's Superhuman Affairs Branch, Department H, he was kidnapped by the evil Dr. Horatio Huxley, who was trying to revive the Weapon X program, which gave Wolverine his claws so many years ago. The Doctor infected the tourist with an extremely deadly bacteria called Theta Gene 24, which mutated him and caused his mind and body to combine with the bacteria, creating a new personality and being. This Weapon X wears a containment suit to keep the bacteria cooled to prevent its reproduction. It was capable of absorbing electricity and had a powerful exoskeleton, sharp claws, and a jetpack. The combined might of both the new and original Alpha Flight was not enough to defeat Weapon X, but in the end, his goal turned out not to be the destruction of the world, but of himself, and he took his own life with the only thing capable of killing him: a nuclear bomb. Number 3. Lan the Sorcerer. Lan is an ancient mystical being who is intent on helping humanity destroy itself so he can transform Earth into one of the Twisted Realms. He appears on Earth to attempt this once every 10,000 years, and it is the duty of the Talisman to fight him and banish him back to his own realm. When he fought Alpha Flight, he trapped them in a maze of dimensions. While they were trapped, he manipulated the minds of the Canadian government to hate Alpha Flight and form a different hero team, Gamma Flight. Alpha and Gamma and the Canadian military eventually banded together and fought the demons that Lan summoned, while Talisman, North Star, Aurora, and Doctor Strange battled Lan and sent him back to his home plane, where he cannot cause any more trouble for about 10,000 years. Number 2. Dream Queen. The daughter of the Fear Lord Nightmare, the Dream Queen is the ruler of a realm called Live World. She is able to shape this world to her every whim, but she still desires to escape this realm. When the Alpha Flight member Pathway, who can open portals to other dimensions, came across Live World, she was attacked by the Dream Queen, causing her to transport her team to the realm for help. They tried to fight Dream Queen, but she was able to create as many dream demons as she needed, as it was her realm. Puck transported the team back to Earth, but accidentally took the Queen with them. She was weaker in this realm, but she could still alter perceptions and send dream demons after people. She was defeated and sent back to her own realm, but she implanted the team with psychic energy, which caused them to experience extreme trauma before they met up again, causing the combined energy to unleash her again, but she was again defeated and banished to Live World. Number 1. The Master of the World. By far, the villain that has given Alpha Flight the most trouble over the years and can be described as their arch nemesis is the Master of the World. He was an early human living nearly 40,000 years ago, who was rejected by his tribe for being cruel and violent. He wandered the Arctic following an instinct that was drawing him further and further north. He came across the long-crashed ship of the Plodex. The ship captured him, kept him alive, but dissected him and studied him, absorbing him into the ship. After 30,000 years, his mind overcame that of the ship and constructed a new body for himself, and he became the Master of the World. He tangled with Alpha several times, once causing Marina to experience more pain than any living being had felt in 40,000 years. He once took over Canada, assimilating some of the heroes to his control and causing irreparable harm to several Alphans' lives. He also messes around with other hero groups, having posed as Canada's representative in the Alpha Flight Board of Directors that oversaw the Alpha Flight space program, and was a key player in Civil War II, going after the leader of the revamped program, Captain Marvel. He has also fought the Champions and is currently the ruler of Weird World. He has enhanced strength, speed, agility, and reflexes in addition to his incredible intellect and his suit of armor, which protects him as well as stores and channels energy. He often uses a metal staff which shoots powerful energy beams, but listing his powers doesn't really do justice to the cruelty and sadistic evil that he has put the team through over the years.
Starting off at number 10 today is Null. Null is the literal eldritch god of all symbiotes, their creator. Null existed before the current version of the universe ever even came be, in the black void of nothingness. One of his very first acts after he was awoken by the light created by the formation of the universe was creating the all-black Necrosword. This was the very first symbiote and it was immensely powerful. Using it, Null was able to slice the head clean off of a Celestial. For this insane feat of power, he was banished to a void where he worked more and more on the sword, and eventually he broke free and went out into the universe with the intent of wiping out various different gods until he was defeated and he lost the sword to Gore the God Butcher. And if we want to talk about villains who should have been more powerful in the MCU, he's top of the list. Null then goes on to make more and more symbiotes all share a hive mind under the control of Null. They eventually rebel and imprison Null inside the symbiote homeworld Clintar, which is actually symbiote for Cage. He's one of the strongest villains Marvel Comics has shown us. He faced off against all the Earth's heroes and nearly won. He has awoken, enslaved, and controlled Celestials and even defeated the Sentry, ripping him in half and absorbing the Void. The only thing that defeated him was Eddie Brock's Venom, wielding the Unipower, aka Captain Universe, the protector of the universe and the opposite to everything that Null represents. Number 9. Abraxas. Abraxas is the polar opposite of the cosmic entity known as Eternity. This essentially means his whole reason for existing is to destroy all of the multiverse, which, I'll be honest, there are a few different characters in Marvel who exist for that very reason. And funnily enough, a bunch of them are on this list. Abraxas is also tied to the incredibly unstoppable cosmic entity Galactus. Whenever Galactus would consume a planet, it would keep Abraxas in check. So, when Galactus was actually destroyed in a story called Galactus the Devourer, Abraxas was released and begins his path of ultimate destruction. As a cosmic entity, Abraxas' powers are essentially limitless, and his whole existence is kind of important to the universe, which means he can't really be taken out like a normal villain would be. So, the question of how he was defeated is kind of important. In Fantastic Four number 48 to number 50, we learned of an incredibly powerful tool called the Ultimate Nullifier. It was used back then to threaten Galactus and stop him from destroying the Earth. Reed Richards ended up using the Ultimate Nullifier to essentially rewrite reality, remaking it so that Abraxas just never existed. Abraxas is so unstoppable that we essentially needed a Deus Ex Machina to defeat him. Number 8. The Chaos King. Amatsu Mikubashi, first appearing in Thor Blood Oath number 6 in 2006, is the Japanese god Chaos, evil, and an aspect of the cosmic being known as Oblivion. Mikubashi ruled and thrived over the Earth when it was nothing more than a formless void of primordial darkness. And as such, his goal now is to bring it back to that age of chaos and void and darkness. He is a primordial being who was imprisoned in Yomi, the Shinto underworld, where he remained for centuries, accruing an army of Oni, Shinma demons, and other monsters. During the events of Ares, god of war, Chaos King attacks Olympus after he had defeated and controlled the Japanese pantheon after the fall of Asgard during Ragnarok. This is what kickstarts his mission in Chaos War, where he slays the Egyptian gods, Celtic gods, Shi'ar gods, and gods of Zen-La. He takes out Nightmare in the Dream Dimension, destroys Mephisto somehow, and casts Mistress Death out of hell, making her literally run away, and releases the souls of the damned. He has the power to defeat Eternity and is practically unfazed by attacks from the likes of someone like Zeus. God Hercules, Galactus, Silver Surfer, and Thor teamed up together but could not defeat Chaos King. To win, this insanely powerful god of gods, Hercules, had to punch him into a portal to an endless void of nothingness, and this was after he had already destroyed about 98% of the universe. Number 7. Galactus. The being formerly known as Galen of the planet Ta lived before the modern cosmos in the previous iteration of the cosmos. Galen gestated with the sentience of the universe for billions of years, transforming into the devourer of worlds, finding sustenance by ingesting entire planets, preferably those with living sentient beings that have much more energy for him to harness. He is sort of bringing balance to the universe, kind of like how life is given and taken away every day on Earth, which makes him an essential part of the universe. He's known for the destruction of the Skrull Empire and has attempted to devour the Earth on so many different occasions. And I guess he's tried to devour other planets too, for that matter, but know, like whatever. Galactus is also famous for his heralds though, such as Silver Surfer, the Fallen One, and the Cosmic Ghost Rider, to name a few. And while they are all powerful beings themselves, usually even before they gain the herald power boost, they don't actually hold a candle to Galactus himself. His only caveat is that Galactus's power depends on his planet's consumption. So a weakened Galactus who hasn't eaten a planet has been taken out before, but if he eats like 4 or more planets, he's pretty much unstoppable and has been able to defeat multiple mad Celestials by himself. He's powered by food, and I think pretty much all of us can understand that. Number 6, the One Below All. In Marvel Comics, there is a character called the One Above All, who hasn't really been seen all too often, but is essentially the equivalent to God or the Creator. We have gods like Odin and Zeus and Thor in Marvel Comics and the MCU, but this is a little bit different. The One Above All is like the god of everything, the supreme ruler of creation and compassion. It's even been represented as the writers of Marvel at one point, to give you an idea. So, the One Below All, as you can imagine, is the antithesis to this, the personification of destruction and hate. Another way of looking at it is that the One Below All is actually the One Above All's hulked out form, although that makes things a little bit more complex in some ways. The One Below All is trapped in the below place and manifests itself in reality through gamma and gamma mutates. Basically, this means that Hulk and the other gamma mutated beings have fractions of the One Below All's power and can be taken over by the One Below All for him to try and escape and destroy literally everything. In an alternate future, the One Below All actually does this, taking over Bruce Banner's body and using his power to devour the cosmic entity Eternity and eradicate all life in not only this version of the cosmos, but even going into the next iteration of the multiverse, ensuring that nothing in the universe will ever continue to be. Luckily, this is prevented in the Immortal Hulk story, but I'm telling you, go read it. Number 5, the Black Winter. You know, Galactus made this list, but why choose him when we can choose the bigger version of Galactus? Where Galactus consumes individual planets, the Black Winter devours entire realities. The Black Winter, the Star Plague, the Blightstorm, the Rot Blizzard, or the Fimbulwinter if you want, was the one who brought the end of the 6th iteration of the universe, leaving only Galen of the planet Ta, like we talked about before. When the Black Winter arrives in the Marvel Universe, this iteration of it, in the latest run of Thor, Galactus turns an All-Father Thor who possesses the Thor Force into his Herald of Thunder, granting him the power cosmic, and an attack from this Thor only stops the Black Winter for a total of 14 seconds. That's how powerful this multiversal entity is. Luckily, at this time, the Black Winter isn't here to destroy the universe. He is just here for his herald, Galactus. But luckily, Thor turns Galactus into a massive power cosmic explosion that destroys the Black Winter in his entirety, and it's incredibly awesome. Number 4, Thanos. Thanos, who made his debut in Iron Man number 55, February of 1973, has only one goal, and that goal is to conquer the galaxy. Sort of. If you are only familiar with his movie adaptation, then you may not know that comics Thanos is not really much of an altruistic dude. The Mad Titan doesn't seek to eliminate half of life in the known universe in order to create a better one, he simply wanted to impress a girl, but not in the same way you might think. Thanos has a thing for death. In fact, he fell in love with the Mistress Death, who is the physical embodiment of death in Marvel Comics. To prove his love to her, he was going to destroy all the life in the universe, and that's what led to him assembling the Infinity Stones and trying to wield the Cosmic Cube. He's really just a cosmic level serial unaliver. Thanos was born on Titan, a moon of Saturn, and is technically an Eternal, but he possessed a deviant gene which made him very different looking. He was bullied for this as a child, and as such, Thanos distances himself from the society, and he even starts dissecting animals. He has gone far in his obsession with Mistress Death, kidnapping his own mother and taking her apart, training his daughter to become an assassin, and even sending a targeted nuclear strike at his own homeworld. He has the power of telekinesis and matter manipulation, has superhuman intellect, can master any technology, time travel, teleport, and is an incredibly powerful and scary dude. Number 3, the Beyonder. The Beyonder is a singular entity with no duplicate versions of himself in other other universes, similar to the Phoenix. And a lot like the Phoenix, Beyonder is basically like a baby, in that he is a younger member of a race called the Beyonders, that are a near omnipotent alien race from a dimension outside of the multiverse. He is himself basically a whole universe. It's really hard to explain, but as he observes Earth and the Marvel Universe and the various races, he grows curious, and the Beyonder decides to study and analyze life and humanity, good and evil, and conflict, and to that purpose he pits Earth's mightiest heroes and villains against each other in the Secret Wars, the very first one. Now he did this by destroying an entire system of planets and creating Battle World from the remains and from parts of Earth, so that's one level of power right there. Beyonder's powers surpass that of Eternity and the Living Tribunal himself, and he is capable of manipulating reality to his will, being able to pretty much do whatever he wants and grant himself any power he wants. It is more nuanced, but it's incredibly difficult to explain, and I don't have that much time, so we're moving on. Number 2, Dormammu. Dormammu is one of a race of extra-dimensional energy beings called the Faultine. Him and his sister Umar are both mutants of the species who seek to consume matter instead of energy, which is a big no-no among the Faultine, and along with taking out their own pops, it caused them to be banished. They both traveled to the Dark Dimension, and eventually Dormammu took it over. Dormammu is the prime enemy of the Vishanti, the gods who give the Sorcerer Supreme his supreme merch, and is stated by Odin to be his equal in power. He is more powerful than even the greatest sorcerers, including Doctor Strange and the Ancient One, and he can banish anyone from his domain, the Dark Dimension, but usually fights them for a bit of the old sport. He also has super strength, astral projection, matter transmutation, interdimensional teleportation, flight, can change his appearance and size, can control the elements, time travel, and project and absorb energy. He's also immortal, if that mattered, and has a regenerative healing factor, which seems kinda useless if you're immortal, but hey, I just work here. And finally, in at number 1 is Shuma Gorath. Shuma Gorath is one of the greatest of the leaders of the Old Ones, also known as the Many-Angled Ones. Think like Lovecraftian old gods, and that's basically the Old Ones, so cosmic horror, tentacles, and madness, all that good stuff. Shuma Gorath is the ruler of hundreds of dimensions and is said to be older than the universe itself. It has many mystical powers, including the ability to communicate and control others across dimensions, create mystical energy blasts from his eye and tentacles, and can transmute things on a planetary scale. He can destroy multiple galaxies with his aura pressure ability, and can destroy realities by using his tentacles to create a ball of energy that he just launches at entire realities. I don't even know how that makes sense. They first fully premiered in Marvel Premiere Volume 1, number 10, and in the comic, Shuma Gorath ends up using the mind of the Ancient One, Doctor Strange's mentor, as a portal to the dimension of Earth. Doctor Strange goes into the Ancient One's mind to battle the defenses of Shuma Gorath and fight his way into its realm, only to realize that the only way to win and to defeat Shuma Gorath is to actually take out the Ancient One himself. He's forced to do it, and it leads to him becoming the Sorcerer Supreme for the very first time. And that's all she wrote.
Daredevil, the man without fear, has one of the most unique rogues galleries in the Marvel Universe. From psychotic assassins to mind-controlling masterminds, these villains push Daredevil to his limits. But what if these street-level threats went up against Earth's mightiest heroes? It's an intriguing question, especially considering Daredevil himself was once an Avenger. Today we're counting down the top 10 Daredevil villains who could actually take down the Avengers. To create this list, we meticulously compared the powers and abilities of Daredevil's foes to those of the Avengers, analyzing their strengths, weaknesses, and potential for wreaking havoc. This one might come as a surprise, but Bill Torrens, better known as Man-Bull, deserves a spot on this list. Once an ordinary man, Torrens underwent a horrifying transformation after being injected with an experimental serum, morphing him into a hulking, raging bull man. While he might initially appear to be nothing more than a mindless brute, Man-Bull's strength is truly extraordinary, and his unpredictable nature makes him a dangerous wildcard in any fight. His sheer resilience, coupled with his animalistic ferocity, allows him to absorb significant damage and keep charging forward. In the confined spaces of a city street, or even within the Avengers' own headquarters, his close quarters combat prowess would be devastating. The Avengers, often accustomed to facing cosmic threats and superpowered individuals, would likely underestimate Man-Bull's raw power and primal aggression, a critical error that could very well lead to their downfall. His ability to create chaos and exploit any moment of hesitation would make him a surprisingly effective disruptor against even the most coordinated team. Leland Owlsley, the Owl, might initially seem like an unconventional pick for a list of Avengers level threats. While his primary abilities, flight via gliding and enhanced eyesight, appear relatively minor compared to the cosmic powers of many Avengers adversaries, dismissing him would be a grave mistake. The Owl's true power lies in his exceptional intellect and ruthless cunning. He's a master strategist, capable of meticulously planning and executing complex schemes that can outmaneuver even the most powerful heroes. He's also a master manipulator, adept at exploiting the weaknesses and insecurities of others, turning allies against each other with subtle whispers and carefully planted seeds of doubt. Remember, this is the villain who orchestrated a hostile takeover of the Kingpin's vast criminal empire, a feat that speaks volumes about his strategic brilliance and ability to control chaos. Given time and resources, the Owl could orchestrate the Avengers' downfall by meticulously planning, manipulating events to his advantage, and exploiting any internal conflicts within the team. He could turn their strengths against them, using their own powers and personalities to sow discord and create a self-destructive spiral. He wouldn't need to overpower them physically, he would simply dismantle them from the inside out. Mr. Fear might seem like an unlikely contender against the Avengers, especially when compared to foes wielding cosmic powers or superhuman strength. However, his power lies in a far more insidious and potent weapon, fear itself. While certain iterations of Mr. Fear have demonstrated enhanced physical abilities, his primary and most devastating tool is his fear gas, a concoction that can induce paralyzing terror in even the most stalwart heroes. Imagine the Hulk, typically a force of unbridled rage, suddenly consumed by his own inner demons, or Thor, the god of thunder, rendered helpless by the horrifying vision of Ragnarok. Mr. Fear preys on vulnerabilities, meticulously exploiting the deep-seated fears and insecurities that even the seemingly invincible Avengers harbor. He delves into their psyches, amplifying their darkest anxieties and turning them into crippling realities. He could even target Scarlet Witch, amplifying the trauma of her past experiences and manipulating her immense power to turn against her own teammates. By exploiting the emotional and psychological weaknesses of each Avenger, Mr. Fear could dismantle the team from within, transforming their greatest strengths into devastating liabilities. He wouldn't need to overpower them physically, he would simply break their spirits and turn their inner demons into unstoppable weapons. Typhoid Mary presents a uniquely dangerous threat to the Avengers, a lethal combination of raw physical prowess and potent psychic abilities. She's not merely a skilled martial artist, capable of holding her own against seasoned fighters, but also wields the destructive powers of pyrokinesis and telekinesis, making her a formidable opponent in any engagement. However, her most dangerous weapon lies within her mind, her capacity for mind control. She could effortlessly turn the Avengers against each other, manipulating Captain America into a weapon against Iron Man, or compelling Thor to unleash his full, devastating power upon his own teammates. Her unpredictable nature, coupled with her manipulative skills, allows her to sow discord and chaos within even the most cohesive team dynamic. This is a woman who once held the Kingpin, a figure of immense power and influence, as her husband, demonstrating her exceptional ability to manipulate and control even the most powerful figures in the criminal underworld. This history proves that she has the capacity to manipulate the Avengers, turning their strengths into weaknesses and their unity into a liability. Typhoid Mary's ability to exploit the Avengers' trust and internal dynamics makes her a threat that goes beyond simple physical confrontation, making her a truly dangerous foe. Though often classified as an anti-hero, Frank Castle, the Punisher, possesses a history of violent conflict, particularly with Daredevil, rooted in their diametrically opposed ideologies. Where Daredevil adheres to a strict no-kill code, the Punisher believes in lethal justice, a philosophy that makes him a terrifying force. He is a master of strategic warfare, a weapons expert, and a seasoned practitioner of guerrilla tactics, demonstrating a willingness to confront any target, regardless of their power, including the Avengers. Imagine him launching a meticulously planned assault, exploiting their vulnerabilities with ruthless efficiency and turning their own strategies against them. His unwavering determination, coupled with his vast arsenal of weaponry and tactical expertise, would allow him to inflict serious damage upon Earth's mightiest heroes. He wouldn't engage in a direct head-on confrontation. Instead, he would utilize his knowledge of their weaknesses, employing hit-and-run tactics, setting traps, and using their own powers against them. His ability to blend into the shadows, his mastery of various combat styles, and his absolute lack of remorse make him a terrifying and unpredictable opponent capable of disrupting the Avengers' cohesion and inflicting significant casualties. The Hand isn't just one villain, it's an army of deadly ninja assassins, villains. They're masters of stealth martial arts and espionage, and they have a knack for turning heroes into villains. They could infiltrate Avengers Tower, taking out the heroes one by one, or even resurrect fallen enemies to fight alongside them. Imagine an endless wave of hand ninjas, bolstered by resurrected villains the Avengers have already defeated. The Hand is a relentless force, and their numbers could overwhelm even Earth's mightiest heroes. Nuke is essentially a super soldier gone wrong. Enhanced by the same program that created Captain America, Nuke possesses incredible strength, a healing factor, and a relentless, almost insane drive. But unlike Cap, Nuke is unstable and easily manipulated. Imagine him unleashed upon the Avengers, a weapon of mass destruction with no regard for collateral damage. He could cause devastating damage before they could even figure out how to stop him. Bullseye is the assassin who never misses. He can turn anything into a deadly weapon, and his accuracy is practically superhuman. He could take out Hawkeye with a paperclip, or disable Iron Man's suit with a well-aimed projectile. He's a master of improvisation and a cold-blooded killer, and that makes him a serious threat to even the most powerful heroes. Muse is a terrifying combination of artistic talent and homicidal tendencies. He's a serial killer who uses his victims' bodies as art installations, and he has the power to become virtually invisible to Daredevil's senses. This makes him a nightmare for the Avengers, who lack Daredevil's heightened senses and wouldn't even know he was there until it was too late. Imagine him stalking the Avengers, picking them off one by one, turning their headquarters into a macabre masterpiece. He's a predator, and his unpredictability makes him incredibly dangerous. Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, is the undisputed ruler of crime in Hell's Kitchen. He's not just a powerful crime lord, he's also a skilled fighter with incredible strength, but his true power lies in his influence and resources. He could hire an army of villains to attack the Avengers, or manipulate the media to turn public opinion against them. He's a master strategist and a ruthless opponent, and he could bring the Avengers down from the shadows.
Number 10, Hobgoblins. You heard that right. What's worse than one Hobgoblin? Well, how about two Hobgoblins? In the recent Amazing Spider-Man series, Hobgoblin returns in issue number 11, but he isn't alone. Over the years, there have been multiple people to carry on the mantle of Hobgoblin, and in this case, there are two people that end up returning at the same time, making the villain even more deadly since there are not one of them active at the same time, but two. Ned Leeds, this time around, is once more brainwashed into joining up with Roderick Kingsley, but even still, together they both give Spider-Man a run for his money, causing Norman Osborn, who's actually currently good and sponsoring Spider-Man and giving Peter a job, to call in reinforcements. And friends, before I move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, and if you love Spider-Man, be sure to show your love by clicking that subscribe button. Number 9, Queen Goblin. Queen Goblin, oh my goodness, I love her design. So cool! Queen Goblin is basically evil Ashley Kafka if she was combined with Norman Osborn's sins, which initially, I'm not going to lie, I kinda thought that the Beyond Corporation combined her with a piece of the Carnage symbiote, but I digress. Dr. Ashley Kafka actually has a history with Ben, as we learn in his own miniseries, which made her transformation into Queen Goblin that much worse, really. Although, to be fair, this isn't actually the Ashley Kafka, but instead a cloned version of her, as the original Dr. Kafka is dead. This clone was actually released by Norman Osborn, who came across her in an old lab belonging to the original Jackal, aka Miles Warren. As Queen Goblin, thanks to her combination with the sins of Norman, Ashley has powers similar to him while he's hopped up on the Goblin formula. I guess the Goblin formula is also a sin of his, so this seems to make good old weird comic book sense to me. Other than the usual Goblin stuff, Queen Goblin also has her Goblin gaze, which allows her to prey on the negative and often remorseful thoughts of her victims, attacking them psychically and often making them turn on themselves. I don't really know where this power comes from. It could be a product of Dr. Kafka's psychological know-how combined with like the Goblin formula, or something Maxine Danger sprinkled in. She did say, you know, it's basically like a designer villain she made herself, so who knows what that means. Number 8, Venom. Venom for the last decade and even before has been moving ever closer to full hero status. And yet, this year we saw him return to an earlier state in terms of his relationship with Spider-Man, and kind of in terms of his relationship with himself, but that's more about the Venom series. movies. Venom was originally known as being an enemy of Spider-Man. This was actually because the symbiote found camaraderie in Eddie Brock after being rejected by Peter Parker itself when the symbiote came to Earth the first time. Well, at least the first time in terms of our comic history, but not really in terms of like the symbiote's retcon character history. Yeah. Eddie and the Venom symbiote actually bonded as a result of their shared hatred of Spider-Man, and thanks to an accidental trip to Limbo and some meddling from the Goblin Queen, Venom now has reverted to this characterization, with Eddie even referring to himself and Venom as we again in the comics. But the really weird part is that Eddie actually isn't even really bonded to Venom at this point in time, as he's the King in Black, in essence becoming one with all symbiotes. So, super weird once he realizes he's kind of the only one in there. He's like, what? Number 7. Sinister Six Super Adaptoid. The Sinister Six Super Adaptoid was pretty cool to see as it graced the pages of Zeb Wells' run on Amazing Spider-Man last year. The issue it appeared in advertised a potential 7th member of the Sinister Six, with the cover reading, "The Sinister Seven?" The Sinister Six Super Adaptoid, as it turned out, was not a 7th member, but instead a combination of all 6 members of the Sinister Six in one neat AI package. However, for all the power it boasted, its weakness lay also in being an amalgam. Because what have we learned about the Sinister Six at this point? Well, we've learned that teamwork isn't exactly their strong suit. But I mean, if it was, Peter would be in some real trouble here. He probably wouldn't even still be alive. The Sinister Six Super Adaptoid was defeated by the combined efforts of Spider-Man and the Sinister Six working together, and ultimately ended up turning on itself and then tearing itself apart. Although it turned out there was actually someone else behind this machine who was even more of a threat to Spidey. Number 6. Hallows Eve. Who is Hallows Eve, you ask? Why, none other than one of my favorite, often untalked about characters from the comics, Janine Godby. One of her names. She's had a few names, but I'm just gonna call her Janine because I know that's what she prefers. Janine made her return to the Spider-Verse during the Beyond event. She was once Ben Reilly's girlfriend, but after turning herself in for killing her father, who had severely mistreated her, she ended up spending a long time in prison. The Beyond Corporation managed, however, to work out a deal with the state to allow Janine to be put in their custody, allowing her to be with Ben once more, but also forcing her to live basically under house arrest. I mean, it was a beautiful condo in New York City that I'm sure most of us would willingly allow ourselves to be imprisoned in, but at the end of the day, a prison is still a prison no matter how nice it is. Janine and Ben would eventually discover the dark truth of what Beyond was really up to and turn on this organization, with Janine escaping their custody. During the Dark Web event, she is transformed by the Goblin Queen into Hallows Eve, using the magic of Limbo and the Demon Sim. As Hallows Eve, Janine can create masks to use that basically give her different kinds of powers depending on the mask that she's using. Number 5. Sinister Six. The Sinister Six recently fought against Spider-Man once again. This time around, the team included Dr. Octopus, Kraven, or well, Kraven's last son really, since Kraven is currently no more in the comics himself, Mysterio, Electro, Vulture, and Sandman. And the team was actually being held against their will by the Ultra Living Brain when Spider-Man faced them. In fact, he teamed up with them in this issue to face the Sinister Six Super Adaptoid powered by the Ultra Living Brain initially. But when he chose to show this new sentient AI being Mercy, the Sinister Six decided to turn on him. They beat him badly and were about to kill him, and if it wasn't for the intervention of the Ultra Living Brain themselves, the Sinister Six may have even succeeded. Fortunately, it was able to contain them and ship them off back to where it found each of them prior to their kidnapping. Although, honestly, Spider-Man would have rather the Ultra Living Brain packed them up and sent them off to jail, but. Number 4. Ultra Living Brain. The Ultra Living Brain was the creation that followed in the footsteps of the Living Brain, and the Living Brain is a really old foe that Spider-Man once faced years and years ago now in terms of comic book history, first appearing back in issue number 8 of The Amazing Spider-Man from the 60s. The Living Brain has appeared since then, but when it comes to Spider-Man villains, tends to reside among some of the most, well, forgotten, having appeared in less than 50 issues since its first appearance back in the 60s. The Ultra Living Brain is in essence its child. It was created by the son of the creator of the Living Brain, Dr. Petty. Dr. Petty's son, Randall Stephen Petty, had tried to make a new Living Brain in the past, and once again, compelled to continue his father's legacy, this time around built the Ultra Living Brain. The Ultra Living Brain eventually became powerful enough to kill its creator, albeit kind of accidentally. It impersonated Petty and used Stephen's resources to find the original Living Brain, becoming obsessed with continuing its legacy by answering the question, Who is Spider-Man? Number 3. Chasm. Chasm is Spider-Man's current nemesis in the Dark Web event. I would argue his main nemesis. Chasm was once Spider-Man's clone, Ben Reilly. Ben Reilly made his return seemingly back to being a hero in the Beyond event. In this story, a mysterious corporation known as Beyond hired Ben to become their new Spider-Man after acquiring the copyright to the name. As Spider-Man, Ben became like a corporate superhero. Everything he had was paid for by the company, with them helping him, seemingly, to get to where he was needed most and in his fight against criminals and villains. In reality, however, Beyond was manipulating Ben, and while doing some good, was actually more focused on advancing their own nefarious plots and experiments, and kinda creating villains. That's also a thing they do. After having his memory severely damaged, Ben faced off against the original Spider-Man, Peter Parker. At the end of their fight, Ben's will to live was called into question, and he ended up sacrificing himself, allowing himself to seemingly drown in toxic green goo. In reality, he did not die, but was reborn again as the villain Chasm, who has returned with new weapon-oozed powers to get revenge on Peter for stealing his memories. Although Ben seems to be remembering that wrong, to be honest, but doesn't really matter because that's what Ben thinks happened, so. Yeah. Number 2. The Goblin Queen. The Goblin Queen is actually one of the most powerful foes that Spider-Man has had to face this year, and likely one of the most powerful foes he has had to face maybe ever. With the combined power of Jean Grey being her clone, and the dark demonic power and demon army of Limbo behind her, Madeline Pryor feels pretty unstoppable here. At least that's how it appears thus far during the Dark Web event. At the time of this recording, we're only a few issues into the Dark Web event, so keep that in mind. Although when this goes live, the event will be probably more than halfway through, I think. I'm still not completely convinced that this is really Maddie, considering what has been going on with her in the New Mutants series, where she truly seemed to be committed to turning over a new leaf. But hey, here we are. And if this is actually Maddie as it appears to be, Spider-Man is going to have his work cut out for him when it comes to defeating her alongside Chasm and Venom and Hallows' Eve. Goodness! Number 1. The Beyond Corporation. The Beyond Corporation was probably one of the coolest new villainous organizations to rear its head in the Spider-Man comics in 2022. And the super cool thing about it, it's not actually as new as you think. If you were just introduced to the Beyond Corporation via the Spider-Man Beyond event, you might be surprised to hear that it's actually been around since 2006 in the comics. Beyond has only made less than 40 appearances, but its first appearance actually happened not during the Beyond event in ASM and the Point Bays, but back in Next Wave. Beyond actually gets its name from the true all-powerful beings behind it, who are, you guessed it, Beyonders. So while Maxine Danger might send a shiver down your spine, I know she did mine, the real danger isn't even just in the corporation or those who manage it, but the cosmic threat behind it all. And while Beyond might be gone for now in the comics, I'm more than certain that the Beyond event isn't the last we will see of the Beyond Corporation. Even though they were defeated, they really created a lot of problems for both Peter Parker Spider-Man and Ben Reilly when he was recently Spider-Man. So I feel like we also have to take into consideration, although they didn't win, they caused a huge ruckus.